Hello, and welcome to Rock Your Block. I'm your host, Ruth Pegeron. For today's segment, I could not be more excited to have my debut experience of hosting Rock Your Block with our special guest, who is the founder, CEO, and administrator of Independent You, senior service agency located in Fairfax, Virginia. She started the company in 2010, shortly after the passing of her grandmother. The experience of being one of her caregivers sparked her interest to help other seniors. In her early 20s, she volunteered for the Lighthouse for the Blind, where her love for helping seniors began. She later started a career as an insurance claims adjuster. However, she changed her career direction to becoming a wonderful wife and a stay-at-home mother of her two beautiful children. Our guest continued her volunteerism, serving as president and vice president of her two kids' PTO and other school programs in which they were involved. She also gave of her time to be a driver for the local Meals on Wheels program. She currently serves as vice chair of the Home Care Association of America. Her senior service agency is named Independent You, is a member of the Aging Life Care Association, and they have received the Best of Fairfax award for 5 years running. This award recognizes local exceptional companies that enhance the positive image of small business in Fairfax, Virginia, through service to their customers and their community. Ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure. Our special guest has a servant's heart, and we are honored to have her on our show today. Please join me in welcoming our show, Mary Beth Crosson.
Hi.
Welcome, Mary Beth.
Thank you, Ruth.
Yeah, so I'm excited to just get the opportunity to speak with you about all of the things that you have accomplished in Independent You. I want to start with, Mary Beth, just what inspired you to start Independent You and caregiving?
So back in 2010, my husband got laid off from work, and I knew that I needed to re-enter the job force. So I wanted a job that gave me some flexibility so that I could still go to school and help in my kids' classes and whatnot. And a friend of mine and I had always joked that we would open a senior citizen type business. We both had a love for seniors, and so when my husband got laid off, I spoke with her and I said, "Hey, I'm ready to begin. Let's try to get it started." So we did.
Wow, that's amazing. And then talk a little bit about your care for your grandmother, how that kind of sparked your interest. I think I read on your website where she was in a situation where she ended up in a healthcare facility of some sort. And
She did.
yeah, so tell a little bit about that.
So my grandmother was 92 years old, and she had lived independently. Was cognitively, very well off, just in really good health. And she came up for a 4th of July party that we always had at my house every year, and she ended up falling and fracturing her hip. And then from there, she went into a facility. She went into a local nursing home facility, had rehab, and then after the surgery, cognitively, she just wasn't able to go back to being independent. So even though she was still living in a facility, and then she moved up here into Northern Virginia, I would go there every day and have her meals with her, help her to get dressed, be there with her, take her out, take her strolling, and just do what I could to brighten her days and to engage her and spend time with her.
Right, that was great. So what sparked you to decide to open your own caregiving business?
So like I said, so my friend Leslie and we had joked about it off and on for a number of years, and then we went ahead and we said that we were actually going to do it. And maybe about a month or two into it, Leslie's husband got laid off as well. So then Leslie couldn't do it anymore, so then I began doing it on my own.
So were you a caregiver first, on your own, a companion?
I was. So when I started, I formed the business and everything, and I formed it in November 1st of 2010, and then in I believe it was April of 2011, I got my first client. Her name was Dottie, and she was somebody who had a major stroke, and so she was confined to a wheelchair and was completely paralyzed on one side of her body. And so when I first started, my job responsibility with Dottie was that I took her back and forth. The facility that she lived in was very close to the hospital where she was receiving physical therapy. So I would stroll her back and forth. And so I was really just a companion at that time. But I had already started a class as a certified nursing assistant. And so then I finished my class and got my CNA license. And then just as in the facility, as more people saw me with Dottie and I was doing more hands-on care with Dottie, then more people asked me to, to help with their mother. And so I got other clients, and then I had, and then I got other caregivers who were in my CNA class to come be caregivers with me. And so that's kind of how the agency really began.
Wow, what a great story.
It's good.
Yeah. So why did you name your business Independent You?
Well, that was a name that Leslie and I had come up with. We wanted seniors to be independent. We wanted them to, to be able to live an independent life, and so we came up with the name of Independent You.
Do you find that seniors want to be independent more and more as they can't become independent, and is that what motivated you to focus on them being independent?
They do. I mean, everybody wants to be independent in their life. I think that's what we all strive for. And senior citizens, even when they are having difficulty with breathing issues, walking issues, even dementia, that independence that they want to have, that's something that's, runs very, very deep. And so, hopefully by being able to provide a little bit of assistance to them, or sometimes even more assistance, they're able to be independent.
And feel more independent.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So it's a great name. And then I noticed your logo, it has a daisy, which is such a positive look. Was there something that inspired the daisy?
Well, very early on, I was blessed to have had a gentleman by the name of Mark Allen. He's a graphic designer, actually in California, does things for Coca-Cola, Disney. I got in touch with him and asked him to design my logo, and he did. And so I had told him that I liked flowers, and daisies was one of my favorites, and so he incorporated that into it. And I just like it. I think it's a really fresh look. I think it's a fun look, and so I love my logo.
Yeah, it is. It's a fresh look. It looks nice. And if I was a senior and being involved with seniors, it's very positive. It makes you feel really good.
Thank you.
So it's a good deal. Now you have a co-founder and a partner. Her name is Joanne McCarthy, and she focuses on the geriatric care part of your business.
Correct.
So can you tell us a little bit about what geriatric care management is all about?
Sure. So geriatric care managers, I like to think of them, or I like to say that they're like a daughter. So we have a lot of people here in the metropolitan area that, they made their lives here, maybe their children have gone other places and are no longer here, and so they're here in this area. Well, a geriatric care manager is somebody who's going to oversee all aspects of someone's life. They're going to make sure that their glasses are, are current and good. They're not broken or anything, that they have gone to the dentist, that they're getting regular dental cleanings, that they're clean, that they have clothes to wear. If they're living independently in their house, that they have groceries. If they need caregiving, to get a caregiving agency in there and oversee the care agency. They're going to go to their doctor's appointments, make sure that they're really living the best life that they can. And at Independent You, we follow an RN model, registered nurses. So with all of our geriatric care managers, with the exception of one, they are all registered nurses, because we kind of believe that as a senior continues to age, their issues really tend to be more medical than anything, and the nurse is really able to address those and understand everything and provide guidance and direction, and really know the lingo and be able to to help with their care.
Oh, so in essence, they wouldn't have to call a nurse if that senior needed nursing care. They can answer those questions for that person.
They can.
Right there.
They can.
Where the other things they may have to get for them.
Correct.
Would that include the geriatric care? Do they do like wellness checks? Just stop by and say hi and see how a person is doing, or is it?
They do. So you can
Okay.
have a geriatric care manager for really as little or as much as you want. You know, some of the care managers might only check on somebody, you know, once a month just to see how are you doing. You know, where are you with your, you know, are you taking your medications? Are there any medical appointments that you need to have? Sometimes somebody will experience a medical event, say they fall and fractured their hip, and then afterwards, you know, they go to the hospital, they have their surgery, then they have to go to rehab. A geriatric care manager is going to help them to find a rehab and maybe make some adjustments once they go back home. Make sure that they have the grab bars, make sure that, you know, that if they do need caregiving temporarily to help with that. So it's really as little or as much as you want
As the client needs.
Exactly.
Well, and you custom it to them, so there's
Completely.
no true model other than what that person needs, that
Exactly.
client needs for them, and then you tailor the program to them.
Completely.
Oh,
Yep.
that's wonderful. That is absolutely, that is a service that, you know, someone would need to have if their daughter or their son is not close enough to care for them.
They're the eyes
So
and
it's an
ears there.
extension. They're right here.
Yep.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Can you tell us a little bit about when you're talking about selecting a caregiving agency or a geriatric care manager? Is there differences between private or an agency?
There is. There's a pretty big difference between a private duty and an agency. So a private duty is somebody who they're not affiliated with an agency. You're just hiring that individual directly. As a member of the Home Care Association of America, one of the things that we all have in common, all of the members of the association, are that we are W-2 models. So as a W-2 employer, we're paying the individual's taxes, but more importantly, we are carrying workers' compensation on that individual, we're carrying a liability insurance, we're carrying a surety bond. So we as the agency are responsible for their actions. So if they get hurt in the home, or if they take something when they're in the home, if something happens, then we are responsible for their actions. And we also, you know, when you're scheduling, if a caregiver calls out, as an agency, when a caregiver calls out, we bear the responsibility of finding somebody to fill that shift. We're not just going to say, "Oh, I'm sorry, you know, nobody can be there with your mom today." We're going to have another caregiver that will substitute.
Oh, I noticed that was in your newsletter. It talks a little bit about that as well. And one of the questions I would ask, and if you could share, is training different? Do you spend a lot of time in an agency training a caregiver on their roles?
We do. We, well, by state mandated, we are licensed by the Virginia Department of Health, and that's another important aspect when you're working with an agency. You should be working with an agency that's licensed by the state. And so by state requirements, we are required to provide 12 hours of annual training. So we have nurses that are on staff that go out into the field and work with the caregivers. And also as part of our annual 12 hours of training, when they first come on board, we do a skills assessment. We go over their skills with them, and then we provide them with training opportunities within our office. We gather them all together. We'll have speakers to come in and talk about maybe dementia or maybe dental care or just body mechanics. So we provide that training. We also send them to a number of training events out in the community as well. So the more that they know, the more training that you get, the better caregiver that you're going to get. And so training is extremely important.
All right. Well, thank you. I would think so in caring for seniors for sure.
Of course.
Yes. All right. So it's time to take a short break. We will return after these important messages, so please don't touch that dial.
Taking care of a family member can lead to plenty of questions. Fortunately, there's a place to get the answers, for them and for you. Find articles, tips, and tools from experts and others who have been in your place. The Caregiving Resource Center at aarp.org/caregiving.
Welcome back. You're watching Rock Your Block, featuring our special guest, Mary Beth Crosson, founder, CEO, and administrator of Independent U, a senior service agency. So Mary Beth, thank you. We're back. I wanted to, you mentioned a little bit earlier that you went to a class for certified nursing assistant, short for CNA, in your industry. Is that a requirement for all caregivers? Is that necessary, or do you look for them only?
It's not. There's two types of caregivers. You can have a companion caregiver who really is providing general companionship. They'll do, take your mom somewhere, take her to medical appointments, do the grocery shopping, do some light housekeeping, and just provide general companionship. Then you have a certified nursing assistant, and a certified nursing assistant can help with personal care, can do the bathing, the feeding, the transferring, and as a CNA, you it's a 120-hour course completely. So it's 80 hours of classroom time, and then it's 40 hours of actually working in a facility and getting your training from that way. So it's a rigorous course. It's a wonderful course. You really do learn a lot with it.
And when you have a client, how do you know what they need, whether it's a companion or a certified nursing assistant?
So state requirements are that a nurse, a registered nurse, go and do an initial assessment. So we have 2 registered nurses who oversee our caregiving, our caregivers and their care. So the registered nurse goes out and does an initial assessment, and they're looking at the whole entire person, figuring out what their issues are, their medications and everything. And then from that nursing assessment, they're developing a plan of care. And the plan of care is essentially, what are the caregivers, what are we as caregivers doing when we're with the client? It's the instructions that we're following.
So based on that assessment, you decide whether it's a companion or a certified nursing assistant.
Correct. The registered nurse makes that decision.
Together. Okay. So in essence, a companion could be an entry-level position for someone, and then they can grow into a certified nursing assistant with the proper training.
Correct.
If
and actually,
they choose.
With our agency, once you've been employed for a year with us, so somebody could come in as a companion, and once you've been with us for a year, we will pay for the CNA course 100% up front.
Oh.
And then once you've taken the course, gotten your state license and everything, then we will pay half of 50% of it we pay as the agency, and then the other 50% you will slowly pay back to us over the next year that you continue working for us. So it kind of gives somebody an opportunity to grow, in their caregiving skills.
Yes, that's a great benefit to offer for your employees. That's really great. Makes it easier for them to grow.
It does.
Their career growth as well as their income, I'm sure, grows with the difference of the two.
You do. Okay. You're paid more as a CNA than you are as a companion.
Okay, great. So as an owner of such an agency, Mary Beth, what do you do to keep focused on good quality care? It sounds like that's very near and dear to your heart, and it's important. So what do you do as an agency to focus on that and maintain that?
Well, the training that we do with the caregivers, obviously goes a long way to that end. But we also, as an agency, we know all of our clients, we know all of our caregivers. I always like to joke that we kind of work in what I call the pit, but we are working so that we can see and talk to each other all of the time. So we all know what's going on with Mrs. Smith. Mrs. Smith is having this kind of an issue, this has happened, and so we're constantly brainstorming. Our nurses go out, state requirements are that the nurse goes out to do an update of the plan of care and to oversee the caregiver every 90 days. At our agency, we do it every 60 days. Our director of nursing, Sonia McLean, says a lot can happen in 90 days, so we keep it to 60 days. And so we just find that, knowing the clients, knowing the caregivers, always having that exchange of ideas, that talking about, what's going on with the clients, it really is, we believe that it's allowing us to provide the best care possible.
Now, you mentioned too that you have a driving component of your agency as well.
We do.
So
we do.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So the driving part, one of the things that that I find that happens with seniors is they lose that ability to drive, sometimes very early on, and it makes them feel like they're kind of on a rock with not being able to go somewhere. So when I started, that was one of the things that was really important to me, is to provide driving services. So it's a standalone service. You don't have to have caregiving or anything with it. It has a 2-hour minimum, and one of our drivers will go to your house, pick you up, take you to where you are. Lots of times it's a medical appointment or grocery shopping. My dad had a driver. He had Parkinson's and wasn't able to drive, and so we had a driver for him. And he and the driver were really good friends. They used to go out to Twin Lakes, where he was a volunteer, and they would just ride around in the carts and go get something to eat, stroll through Costco, and it's just an opportunity for an individual to go out in the community, be a little bit more independent.
Yeah. Now, I know you now are the owner, and you started as a companion, then as a certified nursing assistant and doing some driving. How hands-on are you now?
There's nothing that I don't do within the agency. If a caregiver is unable to make a shift, then I will, put on my scrub pants and top and, go out and fulfill the shift, because we're never going to make it so that, somebody doesn't have a caregiver when they need one.
How about driving?
Oh, I drive too.
You get in your car, you going to drive?
I do, and that's really good. I really enjoy that. I took a man just the other day, earlier this week, and it's just good. It's good to be around him. It's fun, and I really enjoy that.
Right. How do you stay focused on keeping the quality first and foremost, though? How do you make sure it's first and never leaves?
I mean, again, with always trying to keep our eyes and ears open. We're listening to what the caregivers are saying. We're listening to what our clients are saying, what their family is saying. We always have open lines of communication. We're just really attuned to what's going on with our clients.
Right, that's awesome. In your industry, tell me, what are some obstacles a professional like yourself face in caregiving?
Well, one of the biggest obstacles that we face, not just Independent U, but I think all home care agencies, is the national shortage of caregivers. There was a study that I had seen where between 2014 and 2019, caregivers, as the numbers of caregivers had decreased by 57%. So all of the agencies out there are, we're all looking for the same good caregivers. Right. And so that's one of the bigger challenges that are out there. And I think also, as a woman-owned, we are a certified woman-owned business. And we're also a non-franchise. So I think that has some challenges also, in that, we don't have the support that somebody who purchases a franchise. Everything that we do is really from scratch, and, it's something that we're building from the ground up.
Is there a difference other than the difference in marketing, I guess, or the difference in recruitment for caregivers? Is there another difference between being a privately owned or a franchised? Is there?
I don't really think so. I think there's a difference between a home care and home health. Home health tends to be your skilled, you have your nurses, your physical therapy, your occupational wound care. That's something that is covered by Medicare. But just your traditional caregiving, that's not something that's covered by Medicare. And so I think, we're all kind of doing the same thing, and like I said, we're all looking for the best caregivers that we can possibly find.
Got it. Now, your vision statement is enriching the lives of seniors, and it's very clear, and it comes across very clear that that's something that's very important to you and near and dear to your heart. And you started with just you and your clients, and it's kind of hard sometimes as a leader to be a visionary of one thing and then get everybody around you to march to that same beat. of enriching the lives of seniors, your leaders, you mentioned nurses, care managers, as well as your caregivers. So what are some of the things you do to make sure your vision is carried out for your employees?
So here, come at the end of the year, we will be having a year-end celebration. It's a staff meeting that we have, and we tie it into a celebration of what we've accomplished during the year. And so just involving our caregivers and having that relationship with our caregivers, so that it's not just me carrying out the mission of enriching, other people's lives. It's our staffing coordinator, it's our HR person, it's our nurses, it's our care managers, and it's our whole, independent use staff, all of our caregivers out there in the field, treating them with the same dignity and respect that, that we want them to provide to the clients as well.
Well, that's awesome. I've had the honor to work side by side with you, and I've been honored to have that happen because you couldn't learn from anybody better when it comes to the heart. And just being someone that is hands-on, you'll take any phone call, you'll go out and she's right, ladies and gentlemen, she'll go out and get in that car and drive a client and, put on a scrub, whatever it takes to serve Fairfax and the seniors. You definitely lead that. And it's evident. So I know you'll continue to do very, very well.
Thank you.
So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So thank you for watching our show today. After listening to Mary Beth Crosson, we've learned how important it is for our seniors to live well by having caregiving be a part of their overall care plan to make life easier and enriched. If you're responsible or caring for a senior, please consider introducing additional support for them. You may contact Mary Beth if you need more information. So thank you for joining us, and join us next time for another episode of Rock Your Block.